clutching the rations she has just risked her life to scavenge, Kira freezes outside the apartment door. Her hand hovers over the doorknob. From inside, muffled, rhythmic sounds slip through the wood. Her entire body goes rigid. A derisive scoff breaks the silence right next to her. Kira turns her head to see Zara, the woman from the adjacent sector. Zara shoots her a look of pure mockery, thinly veiled as pity. Well, home early today? What are you standing there for? Why don't you open the door and go inside? Zara intentionally raises her sarcastic voice, drawing the curious gazes of onlookers in the corridor. Trembling uncontrollably, Kira twists the knob, slips through the crack, and slams the door shut, locking Zara's smug laughter outside. The room is pitch black, the windows tightly sealed against the outside world. As her eyes adjust to the darkness, she takes a few steps forward. Her boot crushes something soft. Looking down, Kira's face instantly darkens. The last shred of hope shatters, giving way to a blazing inferno of rage. She picks up the piece of lingerie at her feet and walks toward the slightly ajar bedroom door. At this distance, the noises are sickeningly clear. Through the gap, she can see two silhouettes entwined on the bed. Cole, when are you going to tell Kira about us? You promised last time. Ugh, don't touch there. I hate that. That voice is all too familiar. Kira stands rooted to the spot for 3 agonizing seconds before swinging her leg and viciously kicking the door open. Cole, doesn't your conscience bother you? She hurls the bag of rations straight at the couple on the bed. Tears of fury prick her eyes. The loud shout makes the two on the bed jolt and panic. Good, very good, Chloe. You really didn't disappoint me. Kira hisses, her voice dripping with venom. You adulterous dogs, I really must have been blind. How did I ever wrong you that you dare treat me like this? She swiftly draws the dagger strapped to her calf, the blade still stained with dried blood. With a flash of madness in her eyes, she lunges forward, swinging the knife toward the bed. The man is Cole, the boyfriend she has loved for 2 years, the man who supposedly shared life and death with her through 5 years of the apocalypse. The other is Chloe. As the blade descends, Chloe screams in terror. Ah, Cole! Cole reacts with lightning speed. His right hand violently shoves the terrified Chloe aside, while his left hand shoots up to catch the cold, sharp blade. Clang! A dry, metallic clash rings out. Kira glares at the disheveled man in front of her. Cole's left arm, previously amputated, is now a heavy cyber limb. Kira, stop acting crazy. Cole snaps, using that familiar, impatient tone he always reserves for her. Kira. Chloe calls out timidly from behind Cole, forcing a pitiful expression. Looking at that beautiful, flawless face and that fake, pathetic demeanor, Kira would undoubtedly have softened in the past. But right now, this woman is lying in Cole's bed. There isn't a single trace of mercy left in Kira's eyes. She grits her teeth and presses the knife down with all her might, but Cole's cyber limb grips the blade like a vice. She can't pull it out. Instantly, her left hand reaches behind her back. A handgun rests perfectly in her palm. Without hesitation, she points the barrel straight at Cole. Panic flashes across the man's eyes. He lets go of the knife and swings his cyber limb up to shield his chest. Dot bang! The bullet slams into the cyber limb, sparking wildly before clattering to the floor. Cole, she wants to kill us. Chloe cowers behind him, her face revealing sheer malice. Cole breaks out in a cold sweat. If he hadn't used the cyber limb to block the shot, he would be a corpse right now. Fury rising, he swings the mechanical arm and delivers a devastating punch to Kira's stomach. Agony tears at her internal organs, sending Kira flying backward. The gun slips from her grasp and hits the ground. Chloe lunges forward like lightning. Barefoot, she scrambles to snatch the gun from the floor. Kira curls up on the ground, clutching her stomach. Fresh blood oozes out, soaking through her clothes, gradually staining the cold floor crimson. Click. Cole flips the light switch. The glaring light illuminates the dark red pool of blood, stunning the other two. Suppressing the bone-deep pain, Kira tries to prop herself up. Bang! Another deafening gunshot. A searing pain flares in Kira's shoulder. The impact knocks her down again. The shooter is Chloe. Cole frowns, staring at the smoking gun in her hand. Don't kill her. She still has use. As if remembering something, Chloe slowly lowers the weapon. Cole glances at the spreading pool of blood around Kira's stomach. His punch just now couldn't possibly have caused such a fatal wound. He steps forward and slaps her face hard. Hand over everything in your void. Ha! Ptooey! Gathering her last bit of strength, Kira spits a mouthful of bloody phlegm straight into Cole's face. Infuriated, Cole raises his hand to strike her again. Kira tilts her head, dodging the blow. Hand over the stuff. Cole roars, swinging his leg to deliver a brutal kick to her body. The kick sends Kira sliding a meter across the floor, dragging a gruesome trail of blood in her wake. With the cards on the table, Cole doesn't even bother playing the role of the warm lover anymore. In truth, the wound on Kira's stomach is a remnant of a clash with marauders when she risked her life to find food for them. A self-deprecating smile curls on her lips. It's truly ridiculous. The relatives she took in. Chloe, who plotted behind her back, and Cole, who supposedly shared everything with her. They are all just vultures wearing masks. No wonder. Occasionally, when she brought food back, the neighbors looked at her with strange eyes. Everything is all too clear now. Today is Cole's day off. She purposely came back early to surprise him, never expecting the joke to be on her. Cole, what do we do now? Chloe asks, her tone growing frantic. Heavy footsteps and banging on the door are already echoing outside. The barrage of bullets has alarmed the enforcers of the sector. Feeling her body temperature rapidly dropping, Kira stares intently into Cole's dark, greedy eyes. You want the stuff in my void? Keep dreaming. A grenade suddenly materializes in her hand. Shit! Cole's face contorts in terror, but it's too late. An earth-shattering explosion rings out. A blinding flash of light flares up, swallowing Cole's vision entirely. A single tear slides from the corner of Kira's eye, soaking into her temple. Before the shockwave hits, she has already closed her eyes tightly. If there is a next life, I absolutely will not let myself be this blind again. Drop. Drop. Drop the handkerchief. Gently place it behind her back. Everyone, don't tell her. Noisy laughter and chatter flood her senses. Kira slowly opens her eyes and raises her heavy head. She is sitting on the grass, surrounded by a circle of teenagers in camouflage uniforms. They are all looking at her, teasing smiles on their faces. Kira freezes. She stares up at the sky in a daze. A loud buzzing sound echoes in her head, making the surrounding scene feel bizarrely real, yet distant. She turns to the person next to her. It is Lexi, the class beauty who had died in the third year of the apocalyptic era. Scanning the crowd, she recognizes the faces of the dead. The vast majority of them had perished in the whiteout, drowned in the floods, or been butchered by marauders. A pink handkerchief flutters back and forth in front of her face. The focus in Kira's eyes gradually sharpens. Lexi is holding the cloth, wearing a mischievous, mocking smile. She is deliberately using the handkerchief to tease Kira, purely to show off her lively, adorable nature to the boys. Memories flood back like a fast-forwarded tape. She remembers now. This is freshman military training. The girls had initiated a game of drop the handkerchief. The cloth was clearly thrown behind her back, but Lexi, desperate for the spotlight, snatched it up, knowing full well that Kira hated performing in public. But Lexi clearly wants the stage. Kira thinks she is still hallucinating. What did she do in her past life? She just sat there, paralyzed. When time was up, everyone cheered and forced her to perform, and Lexi pulled her up, dropping a hypocritical line. Just joking around. Didn't know you'd be so shy. Let me perform with you then. We'll sing together. Watching the exact same scenario about to repeat itself, Kira looks up, staring straight into Lexi's mocking eyes. The confusion vanishes completely, leaving only a chilling, glacial calmness. Meeting that sharp, dead gaze, Lexi's smile freezes. Kira? She stammers. Kira glances at the handkerchief, then lifts her chin and addresses the crowd loudly. This classmate seems really eager to perform. How about we yield the stage to her? Lexi stands there dumbfounded. The surrounding crowd instantly erupts in enthusiastic cheers. Just as she awkwardly tries to drop the cloth, Kira swings her arm and grabs her wrist tightly. The grip is like an iron shackle. Lexi cannot pull her hand free, no matter how hard she tries. Time's up. Perform, perform, perform. Amidst the roaring chants, Lexi's face flushes bright red. She completely forgets about Kira's vice-like grip. She stands up, pulls off her hair tie, and lets her long, silky hair cascade down her back, perfectly framing her delicate features. The boys holler louder in excitement. Feeding off the attention, Lexi strips off her baggy camouflage jacket, revealing a fitted t-shirt that highlights her figure. Gasps and whistles ripple through the crowd. Lexi signals to a girl sitting nearby, who immediately plays an upbeat track on her phone. Lexi steps into the center of the circle and begins a sultry dance routine. But right at that moment, pure white snowflakes begin to drift down from the sky. Kira snaps her head up. Murmurs of genuine shock break out all around. They are in the deep south, where it is warm year-round. Snow is something many of them have never seen in their entire lives. It's snowing. It's actually snowing. Lexi freezes, stopping her dance in confusion. Kira extends her hands. A few snowflakes land neatly in her palm, melting instantly like tiny, freezing cotton balls. The icy sensation transmits to her skin, causing Kira's pupils to contract. Without hesitation, her right hand pinches her thigh, hard. It's not enough. She viciously pinches her left arm, using so much force that a dark bruise instantly forms. The pain confirms a crazy truth. The coldness deep in her eyes shatters into an expression of extreme, maniacal obsession. She has been reborn, and she has returned to the exact moment the apocalypse began. The sudden arrival of the Whiteout sends the entire campus into a frenzy of excitement. The drill instructors are equally distracted, tacitly allowing the students to break formation and play. Taking advantage of the chaos, Kira quietly slips away. She runs straight to the infirmary, finds the counselor, and uses her soon-to-expire ID card to request a medical leave. She had never expected this useless piece of plastic to be the thing that saved her life. Since she just enrolled, there isn't much stuff in the dorm. She strips the bed of its blankets, gathers everything usable, and stuffs it into her duffel bag, preparing to leave. Just as she reaches the door, her 3 roommates walk in, laughing and tossing freshly packed snowballs. Kira has long forgotten their names. Seeing her heavily packed, all 3 look surprised. "Kira, where are you going? Why are you packing all your things?" Kira looks at the 3 girls. Before she can speak, one of them interjects. "Hey, if you're moving out, can I have your bed?" "Suit yourself," Kira replies in an icy tone. She squeezes past the 3 of them and steps out into the long corridor. Flashes of gore superimpose themselves over her vision. She casts a glance at the carefree students laughing in the dorms. In the very near future, this place will turn into an earthly slaughterhouse. The 20-day military training program had locked everyone on campus. Once the Whiteout fully blockaded the roads and the food supply ran out, the riots inside these walls had become far more savage than anything in the outside world. She clearly remembers this hallway beneath her feet being dyed rust red with blood. The stairwells had been piled high with rotting corpses, the unfamiliar classmates passing her right now. In Kira's eyes, they all bear the horrific visages of their impending deaths. 5 years of surviving in the apocalyptic meat grinder have permanently fractured Kira's psychology. In a world where humans eat each other to survive, nobody stays clean. Stepping out of the building, Kira looks up at the blizzard pouring down with increasing ferocity. It seems the snow is falling even heavier than in her past life. She heads straight to the campus logistics hub, ships her heavy luggage to her home address, and scans a public bike to leave the grounds. Barely halfway to the gate, a figure blocks the front of her bike. "Kira, where are you going?" Kira narrows her eyes at the fresh, youthful face before her. It is Cole. At this point in the timeline, they are already a couple. Her survival instinct instantly kicks in. She glances around the perimeter. One camera, directly overhead. Another 50 meters ahead. One hidden in the tree canopy on the right. This is still the dawn of the apocalypse. It will take 2 more months of the blizzard for the social order to completely collapse. A dozen brutal methods to dispose of his corpse flash through her mind, but she forcefully snuffs them out. It's almost lunchtime. Where are you heading? Cole smiles gently, his gaze oozing a sickeningly sweet affection. Looking at that gaze, Kira almost vomits. The camera in the tree on the left shifts its angle slightly, pointing straight at them. Her habits from the wasteland force her to maintain high vigilance within a 50-meter radius. She doesn't know exactly when Cole and Chloe started screwing around behind her back, but given their seamless coordination in her past life, the betrayal must have started a long time ago. Cole is a year older than her, holding 2 textbooks and wearing gold-rimmed glasses as he steps out of the library, makes him look intellectual and elegant. Several passing girls throw admiring glances his way. The snow is piling up on their shoulders. Cole takes a step forward, reaching out his hand to brush the snow off her jacket. In her past life, Kira would definitely have been moved by the intimate gesture. But now, as his hand descends, she coldly leans away, dodging his touch. Cole freezes. His hand stops in midair for a few seconds before he retracts it, his face showing clear confusion. Kira, did I do something wrong? Her attitude is completely erratic to him. In the past, she always clung to him with absolute adoration. She had never been this cold. Kira ignores him, casting her eyes at the sky obscured by white snow. She has 0 time to play games with this piece of trash. She has exactly 1 week left to prepare. The only thing that matters right now is hoarding supplies. Kira, my birthday is next month. I booked a room at the Venus Hotel. You'll come, right? Cole continues to pester her, his vague words subtly demanding a gift. He had been eyeing an expensive watch, but couldn't afford it, so he had dropped hints to her constantly. He is certain that a desperately in-love girlfriend like Kira will definitely buy it for him. Get lost, you idiot. Kira enunciates every syllable. Extreme disgust pours from her eyes. She doesn't even bother playing the good girlfriend role for a second longer. Cole stands stunned, reeling from the insult. Did he mishear? Did Kira just curse at him? Meeting her glacial gaze, the warm smile on Cole's face stiffens. Does she know something? Without a backward glance, Kira pedals away. Only when she reaches the intersection does she cast a heavy, calculating look back at him. The future is long. She won't let Cole and Chloe die so easily. She must make them taste absolute despair, unimaginable agony, and bitter resentment in the apocalypse. Ending their lives now would be a mercy. Letting them live in torment is the true torture. Without her protection this time, will Cole and the relatives still live so comfortably in the wasteland? Kira stands at the campus gate, taps her phone, and books a ride to the high-speed rail station. While waiting, she looks back at the university behind her. Ivy Academy, City Alpha. She stares at the massive characters carved into the stone monument. In her past life, she had been one of the countless victims trapped inside this very academy. The pristine monument before her slowly superimposes with the grim phantom in her memory. Back then, blood had stained the stone crimson. Lifeless bodies had littered every inch of the grounds. Honk! Honk! The blare of a horn snaps her out of the bleak memory. Her ride is here. Kira gets in without looking back. Loud pop music clashes with heavy DJ beats inside the cab. The driver speeds down the main road, weaving through traffic to the frantic rhythm. This is a historic moment, the radio anchor announces. City Alpha is experiencing a once-in-a-century whiteout. But citizens, please remain calm. This is an artificial weather operation. As you all know, the temperature in City Alpha this year. The driver clicks his tongue and switches the channel to the emergency city broadcast. He laughs at the radio. We knew it was artificial snow ages ago. He casually chats with the passenger in the front seat, acting as if they hold state secrets in the palms of their hands. Sitting in the back, Kira remains dead silent, just listening. Occasionally, the driver tries to strike up a conversation to liven the mood. Arriving at the high-speed rail station, he helps pull her luggage from the trunk. 5 stars, kiddo, thanks. Her ticket is from City Alpha to City Kappa. City Kappa is home. In her past life, once the riots had broken out, she never had the chance to return to her hometown again. Sitting on the high-speed train, a surge of adrenaline courses through Kira's veins. She pulls a notebook from her bag, uncaps her pen, and begins drafting the Doomsday log. After the whiteout hits, drinking water won't be an issue for a long time. Food will be the ultimate currency. Next is medicine. 1 month into the whiteout, temperatures will plunge drastically. During the harshest period, it had stayed below zero for half a year. Countless people had frozen to death. Extreme thermal gear is an absolute necessity. Recalling the endless horrors of the apocalypse, Kira writes down critical resources she had encountered but failed to secure in her past life. After double-checking the list to ensure there are no blind spots, she shifts her gaze to the window. The man sitting next to her occasionally peeks at Kira's notebook, curiosity shining in his eyes. He had just caught a glimpse of the words, 2 tons of rice. Is she planning to open a wholesale market? The snow continues to fall relentlessly outside the window. Not just in City Alpha, but the neighboring cities as well. A blanket of absolute white covers the world. City M and City N are getting snow too. Look, this whiteout is spreading nationwide. It's just a bit heavier than usual. Yeah, I saw the news. The authority claims it's a nationwide artificial snow operation. 4 passengers in the row behind her discuss the weather. Kira listens, her mind crystal clear. This is merely a long-term tactic by the authority to suppress mass panic. Once the food reserves run dry and the terror sets in, those hollow assurances will be shattered by the desperate, violent actions of the starving public. It is the afternoon of the next day when she arrives in City Kappa. Stepping out of the station, Kira watches sanitation workers clearing the roads. Almost every 50 meters, someone is shoveling snow. Snowmen of all sizes line the streets. Kids play with their parents, throwing snowballs. Street vendors have even set up stalls selling Christmas trinkets. A woman in a festive red outfit walks out of an alley, clinging happily to her boyfriend's arm. Bakeries display cute, snowman-shaped cakes in their glowing windows. This entire warm, joyful scene stands in stark, jarring contrast to the grim apocalyptic wasteland etched into Kira's memory. She drags her suitcase, walking briskly to escape the bustling, oblivious street. The old ward, she swipes her access card, enters the aging residential district, and heads straight to Building 3, Apartment 401. She turns the key in the lock. Pushing the door open, she is greeted by a massive bookshelf in the entryway, and the familiar, comforting scent of cypress wood. Stacks of materials crowd the shelves. Looking at the desk behind it, Kira can almost see the phantom of her younger self studying furiously. Ivy Academy in City Alpha is a top-tier national university. She had fought tooth and nail to secure her acceptance letter. 2 portraits of an elderly couple hang on the wall near the bookshelf. They look stern, rarely smiling, but Kira knows they were the only 2 people in this world who had truly treated her well. Closing the door behind her, Kira immediately heads into the bedroom. She throws open the wardrobe and crouches down, rummaging through the bottom drawer. Digging past piles of old clothes, she finally spots what she needs at the very bottom. She pulls out a heavy wooden box with both hands, retrieves a small key from the nightstand, and unlocks it. Inside is the inheritance her grandmother left her. A few antique pieces of gold and silver jewelry. Kira dumps the contents onto the bed and begins searching frantically. Not this one, not this either. Found it. She picks up the black stone of the relics, her eyes burning with intense excitement. Her fingers tremble slightly as she reaches for her neck. Finding the thin chain, she yanks it hard, snapping off the white stone of the relic she wears. Black stone in her left hand, white stone in her right. A strange magnetic pull seems to draw the 2 halves together. Kira presses them against each other, her eyes locked on the reaction. In her previous life, she had always kept the white stone on her. After suffering a severe injury, her blood had stained it, unlocking a spatial pocket. The void, about the size of 3 small bird cages. But that had been the 3rd year of the apocalypse. By then, people had been digging up roots and grass just to survive. There had been no food left to store, holding a massive treasure with no way to utilize it. After a brief moment of joy, she had ultimately used the void solely to stash firearms. Her grandmother had left her the relics. As a kid, she used to play with them like magnets. Staring at the stones now, Kira grabs a needle, pricks her fingertip, and lets a drop of blood fall onto them. She watches intently. The 2 stones slowly absorb her blood. A faint, eerie light pulses, and then they crumble into fine dust in her hands. Instantly, a splitting headache strikes. Kira loses her balance and collapses sideways onto the bed, falling completely unconscious. When she regains consciousness, it is 2 a.m. She rubs the residual dust of the relics on her fingertips. The agonizing pain in her skull is gone. In fact, she feels an unprecedented surge of energy, her senses sharper than ever. Operating on muscle memory, Kira focuses her mind. An empty spatial pocket instantly materializes in her vision. Huh? Kira breathes out in surprise. Fusing the black stone has triggered a mutation. The void has changed. A vast expanse of black soil now borders the silent, static space. With a mere thought, a handful of the dark earth appears in her palm. She focuses again. The mug on her nightstand vanishes, quietly reappearing on the ground inside the static zone of the void. She rubs the dirt between her fingers. It feels incredibly loose and rich. Having spent her childhood in the countryside with her grandmother, Kira can instinctively tell this black soil is highly fertile. This soil can be used for farming. A massive wave of euphoria washes over her. After the whiteout, the earth will endure a relentless cold era lasting over a year. Crops will fail, and even greenhouse vegetables will inevitably rot and die. Grumble. Her stomach suddenly growls fiercely, demanding fuel. Kira grabs her phone and opens the Cred app to order delivery. She starts methodically from the very first food category on the interface. She orders large portions from every single restaurant on the list. With each checkout, the payment notification bell rings relentlessly. Ding, ding, ding. To avoid drawing unwanted attention, Kira limits each order to a 10-person portion, adding a note that she is hosting a gathering and asking the chefs to be generous. Only when ordering barbecue does she let loose. 10 of every skewer. 30 of the fresh meat skewers. She completely empties out 5 different barbecue joints in one sweep. Once the snow evolves into the whiteout, these shops will permanently shut down. By then, even if you crave the taste, you'll never eat it again in your lifetime. Still, her actions are risky. If someone from the higher-ups were actively monitoring the data, she would be flagged immediately. Kira pauses the food barrage. Spotting a few 24-hour pharmacies still operating on the app, she clicks in, ordering the essential medications needed to survive the early stages of the apocalypse. However, these meds have strict purchase limits. Buying too much triggers manual reviews, and pharmacies might even report her for suspicious activity. Kira lies back on the bed, taking a deep breath to calm her racing heart. There's still time. Don't panic. Don't alert the snake in the grass. The authority is maintaining a tight grip on the city right now. She remembers half a year into the apocalypse in her previous life. While scavenging outside with Cole and the relatives, they had encountered the vanguard operating from the sector. She knows exactly when the official rescue forces will mobilize. The authority likely knew the Doomsday was approaching, sealing off the information while secretly constructing the bunkers and the sector in advance. With the apocalypse looming, hoarding massive amounts of grain through official channels would definitely attract the authorities' crosshairs. She checks her balance on the Cred app. 30,000 left. Money earned from teaching yoga and swimming over the summer. Her father had swiped her grandmother's savings after the funeral, but the old woman had anticipated the greed. Before she passed, she had legally transferred the deed of this apartment to Kira. Her contact list is sparse. 2 of the numbers belong to people she detests most. Her father, who cheated before she was even born and started a new family, and her mother, who also remarried. They both have their own perfect, happy families now. Who would remember she even exists? She opens their chat logs. The messages are identical, like cold, copy-pasted templates congratulating her on getting into the country's top university. Neither mentioned helping with tuition. Kira is used to it. She used to crave familial love so desperately that she tolerated endless abuse from the relatives, hoping to earn their affection. It only made them treat her like dirt. A sharp ring of the doorbell shatters her thoughts. Peeking through the peephole, she sees a delivery driver standing in the hallway. It looks like he took on more than one of her orders. Both of his hands are packed with heavy bags, and a massive pile of food sits on the floor. Kira opens the door. The driver immediately looks up. He clearly wanted to see what kind of glutton ordered a feast of this magnitude. But seeing Kira's slender frame, he pauses, stunned. Did you order all of this? Haha, having a get-together. My friends will be here soon. Kira laughs it off naturally, telling him to just leave it in the hall, and she'll bring it in. The driver sets the food down and heads for the stairs, casting one last curious, lingering glance at her apartment number before disappearing. Once he is gone, Kira sweeps the entire pile of food directly into the void. There are no security cameras in the hallway. This is an old district in City Kappa, built when her grandparents were still alive. Newer buildings in the city have cameras on every floor, but not here. Because it is an aging district, most of the residents are elderly. The landscaping is overgrown and quiet, making it the perfect environment to lay low. As she closes the door, Kira glances at the apartment across the hall. It has been vacant for years. Shortly after her grandmother passed, the elderly couple living there had moved overseas with their son, leaving the unit abandoned. Scanning her stash in the void, Kira pulls out a steaming meat bun and a plate of crispy pork and cabbage pot stickers. She bites into the crispy wrapper. Rich, savory broth bursts into her mouth. An overwhelming wave of pure bliss washes over her. In her previous life, driven to the brink of madness by starvation, she had dreamt of eating just one of these hometown pot stickers from City Kappa. But in the end, the only thing she had choked down was dried, bitter tree bark that had been rotting for half a month. Opening her phone, Kira stares at the dwindling balance in the Cred app. She comes from an ordinary background. Surviving without parental support is hard enough. A gust of freezing wind slips through the cracked window, snapping her out of her hesitation, pooling all her liquid assets. A few tens of thousands in the app, another 20 or 30,000 in her bank account. It was her emergency university fund, scraped together month by agonizing month. It's a pitiful amount for Doomsday hoarding, but thankfully, her survival checklist focuses entirely on the absolute hard essentials. Every single cent of this money will be spent exactly where it matters. Outside the window, the rustling of heavy snow mixes with the distant, excited shouts of young people. And at midnight, they are still reveling in the arrival of the Whiteout. The doorbell rings again. Before Kira even opens it, a spicy, savory aroma drifts through the crack. She pulls the door back. A cute, petite girl stands there. She wears a yellow delivery uniform. The plunging temperature has left the tip of her nose frozen red. Kira, are you a food vlogger? Our chat group is blowing up about you, the young girl says, her eyes wide with frantic energy. On the Cred app, the mules run a back-channel chat. They usually share horror stories about difficult clients, demands for doorstep delivery with strict no-knock policies, or hauling heavy water jugs up 30 flights of stairs without an elevator. Kira's reckless spending spree on the Cred app tonight has clearly triggered their radar. It serves as a silent warning for her. I'm no vlogger. The whiteout is hitting today. It's the perfect weather for a barbecue. I've got friends coming over later. There's no way I could eat all this alone. Her alibi is bulletproof. The girl sizes up Kira's slender frame and buys it instantly. She glances at the mountain of takeout boxes on the floor. It really is too much for one person. As the girl steps into the elevator, another set of doors chimes open. Another mule. For the next 2 hours, the elevators barely stop. Some mules even jot down Kira's apartment number as they leave. Kira tracks every single one of their movements. The relentless foot traffic bleeding into the old ward finally catches the attention of the watch. 2 men in their 50s, clad in the watch uniforms and gripping batons, tail a mule up the elevator and track Kira down. They recognize her immediately. They had watched her grow up in these halls. When Kira had gotten accepted into the prestigious Ivy Academy, they had celebrated the victory as if it were their own. Kira, what's going on here? The lead guard asks, scanning the hallway choked with parcels. There is barely any room to stand. Aren't you supposed to be at school? Why are you back? He runs the timeline in his head. It had barely been a week since her enrollment at Ivy Academy. I had some business, took a leave of absence to come back for a bit. I've got friends coming over later, so I ordered some food for a get-together. It's a lie she has rehearsed to perfection tonight. In their eyes, she has always been the quiet, obedient girl. The thought of her deceiving them doesn't even cross their minds. Seeing no immediate threat, they tell her not to stay up too late, advise her to get some sleep, and head back to their security post. Every action leaves a trace. The slightest anomaly breeds suspicion. Kira cannot afford to be careless anymore. Once she confirms every order is signed for, she locks the heavy front door and sweeps the entire mountain of parcels into the void. When the void had first awakened, the agonizing pain in her skull had knocked her unconscious. Now her mind is razor sharp. She feels no fatigue. Flicking on every light in the apartment, Kira finds some scented candles and joss paper, paying her final respects to the two memorial portraits. The last of the joss paper burns to ash. Kira begins stripping the apartment bare. 6 heavy winter quilts, 3 beds, all her clothes. Once the packing is done, she pulls the 2 memorial portraits into the void. From the living room sofa to the desk lamps, down to the small shampoo bottles and the heavy washing machine, everything vanishes into the void. She strips the kitchen down to the floorboards. Standing in the hollow shell of her living room, Kira checks the sky outside. She just needs to wait for dawn. Then she will hit the real estate agency. Her total liquid assets barely scrape $100,000. To stockpile the supplies she needs to survive, she has to liquidate the apartment. Time is bleeding out. In 10 days, when the whiteout hits full force, supply lines will freeze. The authority will quietly seize control of all rations, rendering her money useless. Cash might still buy scraps then, but inflation will violently erupt. A $50 sack of rice will cost $500 if it's available at all. Kira knows the brutal math. At first light, she takes the property deed straight to the agency. The Edge in City Kappa has just launched its pre-sales. Before Kira even steps inside, she navigates through a swarm of paid actors at the entrance, shills hired by the agency to generate artificial hype. Seeing a mob fighting to buy into the Edge triggers the herd mentality in oblivious buyers. Kira blends into the chaos. 30 minutes later, the doors open. The actors do their job flawlessly, queuing, paying deposits, touring models, a well-oiled machine. The lobby is a deafening madhouse. Kira doesn't know how the sales representative pinpoints her in the frenzy. When she states her business, the representative freezes for a fraction of a second. Still, he leads her to the manager. Today's mission is pushing new developments, but any transaction means a commission for him. Owners from the older districts rarely intend to buy. When the manager hears Kira is looking to sell, his demeanor shifts to professional warmth. Kira, I actually have a few clients interested in the old ward. If you don't mind, I can contact them to come over for a viewing right now? She doesn't mind. She had poured her blood and sweat into renovating that apartment, upgrading it piece by piece whenever she had spare cash. The manager brings in 2 groups of young buyers. They want to buy into the old ward for the quiet it offers. They love the layout. The final price locks in at over $1.7 million. It is vastly higher than her projections. Kira sets one hard condition. She only deals in cash. They don't flinch at the bizarre demand. Clearly, these young buyers come from families swimming in liquid capital. $1.7 million, delivered with no questions asked. By that afternoon, the cash is pulled straight from a luxury van. If she had mortgaged the place, she would have bled 30% to the banks at best. Kira takes the money, and the manager personally drives her to the nearest The Roost. When asked why she isn't staying at a proper hotel, Kira plays the poverty card. Every penny needs to be spent strictly on survival. Carrying the stash draws hungry stares in the lobby of The Roost. Kira books her room and heads upstairs. She drops the stash on the table. She doesn't dare pull the cash into the void yet. She won't gamble on hidden cameras. Her eyes sweep the room. The oversized mirror on the ceiling, the TV facing the bed, the blinking red light of a wall socket. As dusk bleeds into the sky, Kira lies down, feigning sleep. The stash rests within arm's reach. Even resting, she keeps herself in a shallow, tactical sleep. The second night truly falls, Kira grabs the stash and slips out. She ducks into a desolate dead-end alley. The moment she is out of sight, the stash vanishes into the void. She tracks down a vehicle rental shop. With her standard license, heavy rigs are out of the question. Following the clerk's recommendation, she rents the Haul, a modified cargo van with the rear seats ripped out, perfect for moving freight. The chassis is battered, keeping the rental dirt cheap, but the engine block has clearly been tuned. 5 years of surviving the apocalypse in her past life had taught her how to spot the right gear. She locks in a 2-month lease without hesitation. In 2 months, the Whiteout will bury the roads permanently. The van will be hers by default. The clerk stares blankly as Kira peels over $3,000 in hard cash from her pocket. Digital credits are the lifeblood of the city. Paying in paper money is a rarity that catches him off guard. Kira grips the steering wheel and pulls out of the lot. Sudden wealth in a civilian triggers alarms within the authority. The volume of transactions she needs to make would light up their financial grid if she used digital traces. 1 or 2 days of tracking her spending, and the authority would have her pinned. She won't take that gamble. Post-collapse, the rules vanish and she wouldn't have to care. But the riots haven't started yet. She refuses to operate under the suffocating surveillance of the authority, having her hands tied while she preps. The city moves fast. The snow on the asphalt is aggressively plowed to the shoulders by sanitation crews before it can even accumulate an inch. Kids swarm the sidewalks in packs, rushing the snowbanks the moment the plows pass. Gloved hands pack ice, hurling snowballs and building snowmen. As evening sets in, the strip kicks off an early Christmas. The sickeningly cheerful holiday music clashes with the freezing air, turning the neon-drenched street into a chaotic, vibrant festival. The Whiteout has completely buried the designated street parking, shattering Kira's initial logistics. She forces the van into a narrow alleyway. After a rapid perimeter check to confirm no cameras are watching, she finally breathes easy. The strip is a breeding ground for every kind of hustler and drifter. The Whiteout does nothing to kill their nightlife. The street snakes around a freezing river, lined with couples clutching street food, leaning against the railings to watch the snow fall over the water. On the left bank, the strip. On the right, neon-lit massage parlors and foot spas glow red and green, silhouettes shifting behind the glass. Kira slips into the crowd. The street vendor's hands are a blur, churning out fried rice like a machine on double speed. Kira orders 10 portions. She moves down the line, hitting every other stall, ordering in bulk. The strip is a sea of bodies. She is just another ghost in the crowd. A stall owner catches a breath and eyes the young girl. That's a massive haul. Delivery run? My rice is best straight out the wok. Kira plays the game smoothly. Yeah. My dad's got his work crew over at the house. Just down the block. They swear by your spot, so it'll still be burning hot when I get it there. Ah, regulars. Construction boys burn a lot of calories. I'll pack extra for you. True to her word, the owner shovels an extra scoop into every box. Kira hauls the rations back to the van. When she steps back out, a heavy scarf swallows the lower half of her face, leaving only her cold eyes exposed. Ring. Ring. The phone vibrates in the desolate alley. Kira pulls it out. The screen flashes a name. Cole. Kira kills the call instantly. She is about to block him when it lights up again. Chloe. Like parasites that won't detach. Kira weighs her options, then accepts Chloe's call. She doesn't breathe a word. The line connects. They know she is listening. Yet, silence stretches on the other end. Then, a fractured, overly rehearsed voice drifts through the speaker. Cole. Kira might just be going through something right now. That's why she's ignoring you. Please, don't torture yourself. Chloe, tell me, was I not good to her? She said she was hungry, and I made her congee. With my own 2 hands. Cole, don't. Seeing you like this breaks my heart. Chloe stares at Cole, her eyes dripping with manufactured devotion. Standing in the freezing alley, Kira feels a spike of pure nausea listening to them. Cole. I think Kira answered. Cole, caught mid-performance, freezes. He has no idea how much Kira just heard. Hello? Kira? Why aren't you answering my texts? Why ignore my calls? If I did something wrong, just say it. Don't do this to me. Kira leans against the frozen brick wall. She holds the phone a foot away from her face, casually digging a pinky into her ear. As for Cole's desperate pleading, she hasn't processed a single word of it. Are you done? Hang up if you're done, Kira says. The image of Cole desperately trying to salvage his devoted lover persona makes her stomach turn. On the other end, the dead dial tone hits Cole like a physical blow. His mask almost slips, the silence turning toxic. But Chloe knows exactly how to play the angle. Her fingers brush against Cole's wrist, an accidental graze, before she timidly pulls back. Cole is a seasoned predator in these games. He reads Chloe's signal perfectly. He had started dating Kira and caught wind of her family's assets. Later, they bumped into Chloe on the street. A few strategic encounters later, he and Chloe had become very close. Staring at her blackened screen, a cold, jagged smile cuts across Kira's face. This is just the prologue. Scavenging fast food at the Strip is highly inefficient, and it drains her capital fast. Once she hits her quota, she guns the engine and leaves. She pulls up the map, targeting a massive catering restaurant miles away, and dials. Hello, this is the site. I need to lock in a week's worth of lunches. 10-person executive spreads. Make it premium. We're hosting the top brass. She hits 3 different spots: fast food, fried rice, executive catering. 1 week. She only has 1 week left, because in 7 days, she will vanish from this city entirely. Between the supply runs, Kira embeds herself in the trade. The dark loam inside the void is fertile. She buys seeds in bulk, vegetables, fruits, even baseline medicinal herbs. She transplants them directly into the void. The dark loam is as expansive as a stasis chamber. She had tested it in the past. Living organisms survive. Humans cannot cross the threshold, but livestock can. Growing up with her grandmother in the country had drilled agricultural survival into her bones. Living alone had forced her to master cooking. Seeds secure the future line of food. For protein, she scours the trade. Chicks and ducklings. Kira buys 40 males and 40 females of each. Let them breed. They will sustain her when the world starves. Inside the dark loam, she carves out 2 distinct quarantine zones to pen the livestock. She hollows out 2 massive stone troughs, one for water, one for feed. She hits the trade every single day. By the end of the week, she has secured 10 cows, 20 lambs, a pregnant sow, and a breeding boar. The pigs will multiply fast. She doesn't need to overbuy. Her aggressive purchasing triggers the radar of the veteran vendors in the trade. They are sharp. Kira doesn't bother hiding. They memorize her face instantly. They practically shove their inventory at her. In their eyes, she is a walking vault of cash. Leaving the trade, she hits the mart. She clears out bottled and jugged water. Day after day. Once the floor staff starts recognizing her face, she cuts ties and never goes back. Candles. Lighters. Flint. Portable lamps. Kira doesn't buy them all in one place. She scatters her footprint. In her final 2 days, she heads straight for the largest sector of the works in City Kappa, renting out an empty warehouse. Industrial plants choke this district. She had scouted the intel long before the freeze hit. Arriving, she marches directly into her targeted manufacturing plants: women's undergarments, sanitary pads, toilet paper. Garment factories, footwear plants, sanitation suppliers, seafood and meat processing lines. With only a little over $1 million left in her reserves, Kira drops nearly $100,000 at each location. But she is alone. Even if she lived a century, she couldn't consume it all. Kira knows the danger of pure greed. Her funds aren't bottomless. Originally, she had wanted to buy double that amount, but the factory bosses outright refused. The reason? Orders had come down from the top not long ago. They had been warned. Mass external sales were cut off. Now, every afternoon, personnel from the authority arrived on the dot to haul away the inventory. $100,000 to these source factories is just a drop in the ocean. If a major commercial holiday were approaching, they wouldn't have even blinked at a 200 grand order. Completing her sweep of the works, she secures heavy-duty solar panels, electric stoves, freezers, and any viable electronics before finally pulling out. Thinking of the few items she still lacks, panic doesn't even touch her. After all, once the riots kick off, everything becomes free of charge. Kira drives out of the works, eyes scanning the increasingly desolate streets. Not even a sanitation worker is in sight. Out here, clearing the snow is no longer a human job. It belongs to the dozers. The public's initial excitement over the snowfall has long since frozen over. The kids who used to swarm the pavements are gone. Online, the chatter turns toxic. Earlier, the authority had claimed it was artificial snow, but as time bled on, their narrative shifted into grim warnings. Exercise extreme caution when going outside. People had started noticing the anomalies. Photos of foreign countries buried under the frost had flooded the web. The streets are empty, but the supermarkets and grocery stores are war zones. Prices for basic greens are surging. The unrest is brewing. A viral video flashes in her mind. A white radish in some chain store over in City Lambda. The price tag had been slapped with a new sticker. What used to be mere cents had skyrocketed. A single root vegetable costing nearly $14. The poster had explicitly noted her location was just an average middle-tier city. That spark lit a powder keg. Reports of localized food inflation had detonated across the grid. The authority had to scramble for damage control. Citizens are urged not to panic and strictly forbidden from hoarding or price gouging. If you witness such behavior, report it immediately. Kira stares at the digital feed. The illusion of order will only hold for so long. A swarm of comments floods. The authorities' official feeds. People living out in the remote towns are stranded. They have no dozers to clear the snow. The roads are choked tight. Muscle and shovels aren't enough to break the ice. Movement is dead. Out in the counties, the working class has already stopped commuting. Locked in their homes for days. No work means no cash. No cash means no survival. Digital begging and crowdfunding campaigns are spawning everywhere. Kira is wrapped in a heavy thermal coat. Stepping out of the vehicle, the biting cold barely registers. She stretches her limbs. Today is her final day in this concrete trap. If she lingers any longer, escaping the city limits will become an impossibility. She pulls up her digital marketplace app, eyeing the order logs. She had drained the last few thousand in her account on military-grade windbreakers and sub-zero parkas. Her current fleet consists of two things, a small gas-powered dirt bike and the heavily modified, rented, the Haul. Kira watches the massive snowflakes drifting down like ash. It is time to move. She throws the vehicle into gear, following the navigation along the old routes. The highways are dead zones. Subways and flights have already been grounded. Her destination is the rural backwater where she had lived with her grandparents in a previous life. She had traveled this road every year to pay her respects. She could drive it blindfolded. Deep in the fringe, just outside City Kappa, sits a grain and oil, the depot. Checking the GPS, Kira takes a slight detour and guns the engine straight for it. The fringe had only been assigned a single dozers. Pulling into the street, she spots the operator locked in a vicious screaming match with a group of local women. Snow is piled high on their shoulders. They had clearly been standing out here for a while. Kira lays on the horn. The blare snaps them out of their rage. The women's faces are twisted in fury, flushed red. Muttering curses, they step aside, clearing a path. When the Haul pulls up to the depot, the massive compound is already swarming with bodies. Desperate residents of the fringe. Kira cracks the door and steps out. Her comms device vibrates. It's Old Guard. Kira, the grid is completely jammed. Do not come to the campus. Wait for further broadcast. Old Guard cuts the line abruptly. Kira knows the truth. The campus is already descending into absolute chaos. Students trapped behind the gates are fighting for a way out. Those with connections had pulled strings. Those without had wired money to hire black market transport home at exorbitant rates. But usually the ones who bailed early were the only ones who survived. Inside the depot, the noise is deafening. Rice, flour, and oil are stacked in massive segregated piles. Cut me some slack, man. I've got over a dozen mouths to feed. This scrap of rice won't even last the month, let alone whenever the whiteout decides to break. Sell me 2 more bags. The man speaks while digging a crushed pack of smokes from his pocket, offering one to the brokers. The broker snatches the cigarette and lights it. It's not that I don't want to sell to you. Orders from the top. We don't dare cross them. Plus, too many eyes watching. Kira overhears the exchange. In reality, ever since the whiteout first hit, the authority had locked down these resources with an iron grip. Rations were strictly calculated per capita. She hadn't bothered rushing for these earlier because she had known the play all along. When the agonizingly long line finally spits Kira out at the front, she shields her movement from the crowd, sliding a crisp 1,000 in cash straight up the broker's sleeve. The broker feels the stiff wad of paper against his wrist. He shoots Kira a heavy, calculated look. 1 bag per household. He retracts his hand, his fingers quietly appraising the thickness of the bribe. 1 bag is fine. Thanks. As the broker heaves a 40-pound sack of rice into her arms, his voice drops to a dead whisper. Come back at 2100. He instantly flashes a plastic smile to the next customer in line. Kira catches the drift, her face an unreadable mask. Money makes the devil dance. Kira had bled nearly 10 grand just to carve out this shadow channel. Loading her legal haul into the vehicle, she checks the time. 16:30. A long wait until 9 tonight. She eats cold rations inside the cab. Pulling up a face mask, she stalks back out into the fringe. Even if the back door opens at 9, there will still be limits. Buying too much bulk will trigger alarms. Fortunately, the dark loam inside the void remains fertile. The core food supply had already been secured. She locates the agricultural hardware, the depot in the fringe. Shutters down. Padlocked. She dials the number sprayed on the metal siding. The brokers on the other end hears there's a buyer and braves the whiteout to meet her. The whiteout is burying everything. Fields are dead blocks of ice. What do you need gear for? The brokers asks casually. Kira feeds him a frictionless lie. Greenhouse farming. The freeze busted all our rigs. Swapping out the whole system. Oh, you're from the West Village end? Hell of a trek. Hearing greenhouse, the brokers immediately jumps to his own conclusions about her identity. Kira just nods, playing along with the phantom cover story she had just spun. Right, I need a rice miller, a few tillers, mowers, corn shellers, a soybean grinder, generators, some old-school cast-iron stoves. Oh, and you stock heavy-duty grain sacks? The brokers blinks, stunned. Yeah. The gear Kira is requesting is a full-scale, closed-loop survival setup. Right before the whiteout hit, I brought in a fresh shipment. You need large vats, too? I do. You got the industrial-sized ones? Kira hadn't expected this hardware guy to stock containment vats. She had been worried about sourcing them. Tonight, no matter how much cooking oil or soy sauce she scores, the volume will be bottlenecked. She doesn't have the time to run constant relays. Her blueprint had been drawn up long ago. Harvest rapeseed to press her own oil, ferment soybeans for her own sauce. The only thing she had lacked was the iron to do it. While they pick through the vats, the brokers, comms ring. He answers, and the color instantly drains from his face. Kira catches the faint, panicked pitch of a woman's voice through the receiver. Something about a hospital. Something about blood. I'm sorry. Look, can you come back tomorrow to load up? I gotta run. Sounds like an elder at home took a bad fall. Tomorrow? She is bugging out tonight. How about this? You help me drag the gear I just bought out to the front of the depot. Throw a tarp over it. I'll bring my rig around and load it myself. As she speaks, she yanks 4 thick bricks of cash from her coat. It is the agreed-upon price, padded with a heavy tip to buy his manual labor. Seeing the stacks, the broker grits his teeth, rolls up his sleeves, and starts hauling the iron out into the cold. 2 sets of hands make it fast. The gear is dumped outside in record time. Kira heads off to grab the haul, while the broker throws a heavy waterproof tarp over the machinery and sprints away. Pulling the haul up to the storefront, she grabs the equipment, absorbing piece after piece directly into the void. Running a quick sweep, she locates a coal supplier within the fringe. Miraculously, coal hasn't been rationed yet. 1,100 a ton. Kira drops 150 grand on solid black fuel. There are several the pits nearby. She has the load dumped into them, stating she'll arrange transport tonight. Better move it early. I don't run surveillance out here. It's been too damn freezing at night, so the boys aren't pulling graveyard shifts. If your stash gets jacked, that's on you. Hearing the words no surveillance, Kira immediately promises to bring a crew tonight to haul it out. You need coal dust? The boss asks, glancing at the laborers unloading nearby. Kira calculates for 2 seconds, then buys 2 tons of it. The boss throws in extra on the house. Even burning it daily, this stash would sustain her for over a decade. And the deep freeze following the whiteout is only destined to last half a year anyway. The surplus is pure insurance against the unknown. Consuming dry rations in the cab, the clock bleeds down to 2100. Kira rolls the haul toward the grocery, the depot. The blast doors are sealed tight. Through the blinding snow, a lone silhouette stands out front, a half-burned cigarette glowing between 2 fingers. Kira pulls up. The figure shoots her a glance, leans their weight against the heavy steel door, and cracks it open just enough. Kira slips into the breach. The depot is vastly emptier than during daylight hours. A dozen figures are huddled around, haggling with the operators. Bribes had already greased the wheels earlier today. Voices are kept to dead whispers. Kira walks straight toward the brokers. Seeing her, a grim smile cuts across his face. She is, by far, the heaviest hitter among the nightcrawlers here. She doesn't haggle. Right now, wholesale prices are still in play. Give it a week and those numbers will more than double. What's the ceiling? Kira asks, cutting to the bone. 2,000 pounds. The broker wastes no breath. He turns, signaling his muscle to start loading the rice. He knows she's good for it. Exactly. Kira hands over the cash without flinching. Hard currency. By now, the digital banking grid is essentially locked out. Even the banks out in the fringe have bolted their doors. The ATMs had been gutted days ago. Untraceable paper is the only god they trust here. Kira pushes a flatbed stacked with grain, running the cargo herself. In the chaos, she quietly siphons several sacks directly into the void. Once her vehicle is loaded to the brim, she deliberately drives a blind lap around the village. When she returns, the cargo bed is mysteriously empty. The sentry at the gate assumes she has a relay crew operating just outside the fringe. Next comes the flour, noodles, and soybean oil. Kira sinks no less than 100 grand into the supplies, enough raw calories to survive a very long dark age. Salt is packed 20 bags to a crate, but there's a hard cap here, 25 crates maximum. Kira hits the ceiling, but her operational need for sodium is massive. It won't be enough. She waits in the shadows outside for a long time. Finally, she slides some cash to an older woman, using her as a proxy to pull another 25 crates. The fee is generous, and the proxy is desperate for hard cash. The deal is done seamlessly. Arsenal secured, Kira guns the haul out of the fringe, tearing through the dead of night. She isn't heading for another metropolis. She is returning to the rural outskirts of City Kappa. The elevation there is high. When the ice eventually thaws, the floods won't reach it. More importantly, it is isolated. Just a handful of interconnected hamlets. Low population density. The math is simple. The higher the urban concentration, the higher the body count once the riots shatter the peace. Furthermore, the village backs against a massive mountain range. When the mercury plummets into the negatives, the timber will provide an endless source of heat. Along the route, Kira spots rogue dozers grinding through the snow, running relentless 24-hour cycles. Passing by rural fuel stations, she kills the engine at every stop, topping off the jerry cans in her trunk. Scanning the perimeter, she notices a chilling detail. The stations are abandoned by human staff, but the security lenses are still tracking. Panning and watching. As soon as one can is full, she immediately switches to the next. She has been systematically hoarding diesel and gasoline, but the system has algorithms. She can't draw too much at any single node without triggering an alert. Luckily, her rented rig is built for efficiency. Once she crosses the boundary lines out of City Kappa, the dozers vanish. The roads are entirely unplowed. Kira surgically navigates the haul, locking her tires into the frozen ruts left by whatever stray vehicle had braved this path before her. It isn't until nearly noon the next day that she approaches the outer perimeter of the ridge. Ahead, on the main artery connecting the village to the minor township, a crew of villagers is violently hacking away at the ice drifts, operating under the sharp commands of the warden. See who's crawling back? A middle-aged man squints through the glare, locking eyes on the blacked-out the hall slowly advancing from the distance. Kira pulls up. The crew is blocking the passage. There is no way through. She rolls down the reinforced glass. One of the locals, a man pushing 50, approaches the window. His cloudy eyes pierce into the cabin. Recognizing her, he lets out a low grunt of surprise. "Kira, what are you doing back in this hellhole? Weren't you locked away at the academy?" The locals scrutinizes her. Bundled in heavy survival gear, she is barely recognizable.